saying stuff along the lines of, oh, if you're a lower level player, then you get more bots into your game, whereas if you've already gotten used to the game, then fewer bots will go on. Is that some way to get more people into the game?
I think it's a good way for entry level players to get in the game. I know it's frustrating to get into a game where it's just a lot of people who are already know the game, or even with things like smurfing, where people who are just dropping down in levels just to play against people like that. I think bots are an interesting way to introduce players who who are very new to the game, to get in there and just get some action, get some confidence playing, and then use that as just a kind of like a trampoline to get to those higher levels and introduce that entry level player.
I mean, nobody likes getting smashed from your first game. You don't want to get in, drop, land, and die. Like,
well,
I mean,
unless you want to, of course. unless you want to, have that experience of, yes, I just got killed in a battle royale.
I feel personally attacked because I feel like you watched me play Fortnite, and that's exactly what
I haven't watched you. No. I haven't watched you play Fortnite. I watched you play Ultimate sometimes with your clips and all, but that's a different story we can save for later.
All right, but I think let's talk a little bit more about that Olympics, because I think this is something that we've been trying to, or esports as a whole has been trying to get for a while now, and to see traction on such a global scale, I think that's got to be something huge to be talking about, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're bringing in Rocket League and Street Fighter 5 to what I hear, and I think that's quite interesting. Also, I know that they're trying to stray away from the shooter games for obvious reasons of the Olympics, but I think that introducing this right before the 2020 Tokyo Olympics and holding this in Tokyo and leading up, it's definitely a growth in the esports scene that we're all excited for, and I think a lot of people around the world are excited for too.
I think it's a very interesting place also to have it with the Tokyo Olympics. Obviously, Japan, just the culture there is a lot more, just is about video games and is about, those kinds of things. So I think introducing esports at the Tokyo Olympics, it just seems the most appropriate place to have that introduction to the world as to what esports is.
I'm more or less surprised that it's Street Fighter and Rocket League. Because, Japan is the home of Nintendo. So you would assume that maybe they bring in, like, Super Smash maybe to the picture. Because Super Smash has a lot of, popular players. I think at your guys' store, you get a lot of people at PC Gamers playing Super Smash all the time, I think, on Wednesdays. Every Wednesday at PC Gamers, if you want to join their Super Smash. So free advertisement there. Free advertisement slot there for you guys. But no, I mean, I'm surprised that Nintendo hasn't pushed for anything, because they've only got Street Fighter and Rocket League from what I know of so far. So it's kind of interesting that there's no Nintendo game there.
I mean, yes and no, because when you think about it, the Street Fighter scene on the whole is actually largely in Japan, right? The best Street Fighter pros, they live in Japan. They practice in Japan. All the big tournaments outside of like EVO or some of the other NA tournaments, all of the best of the best train in Asia, in Japan, especially for fighting games. I mean, say what you will, the Japanese have that on lock every time.
Yeah, I also think Rocket League would just be a good introduction, because it's like soccer, it's the most popular sport in the world, and just to kind of have that as a part of an esport, obviously it's just more familiar to viewers who watch it, obviously. And that just makes it better for an audience that is just not used to it, to kind of break them in, so that they can see exactly what it was and see what the competition is like, and just see how intense esports really is.
All right, so we've got that down. Okay, and another story that you brought up, Brother Jay, is the big story about Chris Bosh. He is a retired NBA player, but he's getting investments, and now he's going into the world of esports for investments. So start talking about that one.
Yeah, so I mean, it's very interesting. Like I said earlier, there are a lot of people who are getting invested, in esports, but they're mostly investors. For example, Joe Montana is a main investor in the San Francisco Shock. You see players like Steph Curry. Lots of NBA players are getting in on the investing game, but not a lot of them are getting in on the level where it's you're part of the actual organization, where you're coaching and teaching players, how to be successful. And Chris Bosh, he was quoted as saying that he wants to provide mentorship to these players because he sees how bright the future is for esports, but he also sees that he can see the same type of competition level that he saw at an NBA Finals level in esports. So for those of you who are not familiar with esports, just as a whole, you can see that these players who have played very high level of athletics in the world of the NBA can appreciate just the competition and all of the preparation that goes into this, and it's very nice to see somebody getting in on that level.
And I want to point out too, we have, I believe, coming up in our later parts, we want to put this in, but we have our one big question that's coming up, and it has to do something along the lines of Chris Bosh, and then K-Tad, you were going to mention it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, when we're talking about esports, bigger players, bigger people coming into the scene. I mean, there's a bunch of people coming in. We'll tease that a little bit more, but also not just players, but organizations, states, institutions, you may want to call them, that you would never have thought are getting involved in esports, or maybe you would have thought down the road. It's actually happening a lot sooner than you think, and we'll definitely be covering that later on in the show.
All right, so we've got plenty of stuff to cover. Another story that I want to get to as well is this big thing. We know that Optic Gaming has kind of flown out or melded out just a little bit more, but the big story about this one is that Optic's CEO and owner, Hex, has moved on to join someone else, and not just as a business partner, not just as this, little person that's inside the entire company. No, he's a co-CEO. Hex has joined NRG, which is huge in the investment going forward for NRG. So, that's pretty huge. I know Colton was looking at it earlier on as well. So, that must be huge, at least for maybe the Call of Duty side.
Well, I know that a big thing is Optic was bought out by Immortals a while ago, and from what I've heard, Hex, also known as Hector Rodriguez, he was having some troubles trying to get a part of the team back, trying to get some of the teams that were being sold off by Immortals. And so, to what I understand, Energy reached out to him and offered him a position as a co-CEO. He has been running this Optic team for a very long time, and that is a very big name in Call of Duty and in many other games. And for Energy to reach out to him, a team that has just recently kind of started up, it's a very big deal for them to reach out to such a large name like Hex. And I think that this is a step in the right direction for them. But we'll shoot it over to K-Tad for some.
Yeah, let's talk about that, right? Because Hex is one of those old school esports, founders. Right?
One of the OGs.
Yeah, the OGs, right? When you think of people that went from player to coach or to administrator to owner of a large organization, there's only a few names out there, right? There's Hex for Optic, right? There's Reginald for TSM. Some might say Hotshot for a COG. There's very small few, like Liquid, Steve, also another one. There's very small amounts of owners that were formerly players that understand the struggle of players from the beginning to the end, and it's kind of crazy. It's been a wild ride for Hex, and I think it's nice to see him landing on his feet, getting some money, and being able to maintain at least some form of control in the industry.
All right, so we've got that covered, and I meant OGs with no pun intended, by the way, there for Hex. If you get the joke there, trust me. Optic Gaming OG. Yeah, okay. I won't go further and explain it. All right, last thing I want to go on before we go to our first break here is that for all of you that are wondering, so Chris Bosh just invested in, and actually the other day, or rather like a long time ago, Adam Silver said we have 4 leagues, which included the NBA 2K League. Well, apparently this NBA 2K League is getting bigger. So for you basketball fans that don't get enough of, NBA basketball, if you want to watch some esports basketball, well, ESL is now hosting a $100,000 prize pool for an NBA 2K League, which is huge. I think it is, because that expands your footprint into the world of NBA 2K anywhere you go.
I think it's also very important because, like I said before about Rocket League, it just introduces, a new audience to, just esports in general, and you can show just the similarities between NBA basketball and 2K. And obviously, a lot of NBA fans play 2K, so the viewership is going to be there, which is important for the NBA. And I think it just keeps the attention of sports fans for longer, and just kind of introduces them to that series of esports.
I also think that by bringing the sports aspect into the esports scene, as you were saying, it kind of brings in a lot of these fans that are not popular or not familiar with esports into kind of a different perspective of that sport, whether they like football, whether they like basketball. It gives a different perspective that they might have never seen before, and they might be interested in as well.
All right, so we went through our main stories. Coming up after the break, we're going to be talking about Overwatch League Grand Finals. I'm so excited. I'm wearing one of the team's jerseys. My team, San Francisco Shock, are in the Grand Finals. The London Spitfire, previous champions, are not in the Grand Finals, but K-Tad's going to wear their jersey anyways. We're going to talk about the Overwatch League Grand Finals, as well as the League of Legends group draw. It just came out. Who do we have winning it all. For sure, TSM ain't going to win it. So, oh, by the way, that joke was from Professor Layton, not me.
Wow, okay.
So we know TSM isn't going to make it, but Professor Layton wanted me to make that joke. So, Layton, shout out to you, buddy. We're going to take a break here. We will be right back. This is Squad Up on CBS Sports Radio.
Hawaiian Financial Federal Credit Union is proud to bring you high school football on CBS Sports Radio. Every week, we'll bring you the best teams and matchups from around the state, culminating with the HHSAA State Championships, presented by Shopo, also brought to you by Straub Medical Center, Hawaii Iron Workers Union, Lean 2 Financial, Castle Resorts and Hotels, Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union, Hawaii Building and Construction Trade Council, PAXA, Hardware Hawaii, and IBEW Local 1186.
My daughter Cheryl was 18 years old at the time of her death. She marked it on her driver's permit that she wanted to be an organ donor, but we didn't expect it to happen so soon. It really helps us to cope. It's nice to have good memories like this, to know that she helped other people through her
Be sure to check the organ donor box or log on to legacyoflifehawaii.org.
From Ewa Beach to Tuscaloosa, can Hawaii's own Tua Tagovailoa lead the Crimson Tide to a 5th straight national championship appearance? Will he win the Heisman Trophy? Find out right here. Your season-long home for Alabama football, presented by St. Louis School and Dixie Grill in Aiea.
Aloha, and welcome to the University of Hawaii Minute with UH News. I'm Janica Pasqua, a UH student. The UH Manoa College of Education is part of a 3-year concussion study. The Hawaii Concussion Awareness and Management Program, or HCAMP, monitors live track head impacts during practices and games. Pac-5 and St. Louis School football players are outfitted with specially designed helmets. An impact monitoring system transmits the data to UH graduate assistants, who notify team trainers to assess for concussion if needed. According to Program Coordinator Ross Oshiro of UH Manoa's Kinesiology and Rehabilitation Science Department,
to decrease the number of impacts that these athletes take, so the cumulative effects of head impacts will be decreased.
in each of the past 10 years, about 1,000 concussions were sustained by Hawaii high school athletes. Find more information about this story and many others at uhnews.org. This has been the University of Hawaii Minute.
Fast Signs, more than fast, more than signs. Located at the corner of North King and Dillingham. Let Fast Signs help you with banners, visual displays, vehicle graphics, and much more. They move to bigger and better locations to better serve you. Fast Signs, 555 North King Street.
What's up, Hawaii? It's UFC lightweight contender Yancy Medeiros here to tell you about one of my team members. Sports Travel Hawaii's always got my back, providing the best customer service, airline, hotel, and rent-a-car prices. I can always count on Sports Travel Hawaii to get me to my fights and training camps, as they're always in my corner. Call them now, 395-9541, or visit their website at sportstravelhawaii.com for all your travel needs. Sports Travel Hawaii, let our team secure a win for you.
You're locked in to Squad Up, presented by PC Gamers on CBS Sports Radio and the Sideline Hawaii app.
All right, guys, hello and welcome back here to Squad Up on CBS Radio. Basically, guys, we are going to come right back into the digital deep dive here, where we are going to take a closer look at a lot of the topics we mentioned, some of the more analytical things. And so we'll start it off with our resident Overwatch lover, fanatic, whatever you want to call him, Mr. Keegan Ota, talking about the Overwatch Grand Finals.
Mr. Keegan Ota, or as I'm called at home, Mr. Keegan Too Many Jerseys Ota for the San Francisco Shock. He knows that Colton knows this too well that I have too many jerseys, but I'm gonna get more anyways. Our Grand Finals is not between the London Spitfire and the Philadelphia Fusion this time, although if you're Philadelphia, you would have loved to see Philadelphia in the Grand Finals this year, just because you're right at home. You're going to be near the soon-to-be Comcast Arena, but it's not going to happen because you have two Pacific teams. And who knew this year that the Pacific was going to dominate the entire series? Pretty much anyone that knows Overwatch, actually, because the Pacific was just a dominant series. 23 straight wins for Vancouver, not including the playoffs, that is, of course, but Vancouver had such a great run. You've got Xiaomin Su that's doing really well in DPS. Twilight and Janu, by the way, Twilight is a support and Janu a tank, both up for the Overwatch League MVP presented by T-Mobile. I mean, that was a great thing to have, but at the same time, you also have Hoxel. He does so well on DPS. He does super well. And I gotta tell you, Hoxel's gonna give the Titans a run for their money no matter what. Stage 1, he gave them a run for their money because Shock just could not handle Hoxel whatsoever. Go to stage 2, finally San Fran finds the answer for some reason on a 4-2 win in stage 2. Final stage, I mean, this is gonna be it. This is the tiebreaker right here, and Hoxel's gonna have to prove himself as Rookie of the Year because that's what he just won back in the semifinals of the winners bracket. So it all comes down to him. On the other side of the San Francisco Shock, excuse me, you have Sinatra, your OWL MVP. You've got Striker. You've got Rasco. You've got Nevix. I mean, San Francisco Shock arguably have the most depth to their roster in the entire league. You don't see switches like this. Yeah, the Los Angeles Gladiators can sub in whoever they want, and they can switch roles or whatever, but San Francisco's got so much depth. And even with Striker having this injury to his hand, he didn't release of why, but he had his injury to his left hand and to his left leg. But as it stands right now, that injury, it might not hurt him too much because of the superficial cuts. It's up in the air. But as it stands right now, I think the Shock have a better advantage to going into this grand final. Now, on the other hand, we've seen the Shock choke here and there, and the person right next to me knows that more than anything else. So you were watching that game. What did Shock do that they threw that sort of game, Colton?
So back in stage 3 playoffs, they lost to the Shanghai Dragons, the team that went 0-42, I believe, last season. So it's quite a shocker, no pun intended, but
Definitely intended. Definitely intended.
Ended up losing that to a team that no one expected to make it to playoffs this season in general, and then making it to playoffs at that stage as well as winning that stage is quite crazy.
So what do you guys think leads to that kind of inconsistency from a team like Shock? Because I feel like anytime that we watch Shock and Vancouver play, it's just a higher level of Overwatch, in my opinion. At least from what I've watched, it just seems like the highest level of Overwatch that I've seen.
I will tell you, the winner of any stage in this grand final is going to be the team that takes advantage of a mistake. And you're barely going to find any. It could be perfect gameplay between both teams. You're going to have one-to-one trades. You're going to have fights. You're going to have basically everything you want in an Overwatch match. And still, if there's one mistake that's had, that's going to be game over for you already. So this is where both teams have to be perfect. Now, granted, Shock had to play an additional match, so they might be a little worn out, and Vancouver could have seen them play against the NYXL, so maybe they're pulling out something different. But I don't think nothing's going to change. I think it's going to come down to who makes a mistake, who's going to take advantage of that mistake, and basically it's going to run all the way through. But that's enough talk. I think I've ranted on enough about how my Shock are going to win anyways. So, but anyways, another big thing that's going on, and it just happened, I believe it was Monday. Yeah, so it was yesterday. Yeah. Yesterday morning, and I was interested to watch it as well during when I was resting. But when you watch it, the play-in stage is a little bit interesting, but to K-Tad, to Bretta J, and I know Colton's paying attention to more or less there, the group stage, I think C is going to be the deadliest, or is going to be the one that's most watched, because you have 3 of the best teams I've seen: Fnatic, RNG, or Royal Never Give Up, and SK Telecom. And supposedly now, according to ESPN Esports, SK Telecom is supposed to be favored to win it all. So what do you guys think about this?
I do agree with you that Group C is definitely the deadliest, but I also believe that just the regions have caught up now, and I think that the EU is actually a real threat this Worlds with G2 and Fnatic being up there. Obviously, from MSI, we can see that the rest of the world has closed the gap with Korea, and there's definitely a possibility of having a non-Korean champ again this year.
Well, I mean, when we're talking about this gap, right? If we're going to talk about the gap, this big imaginary gap that Korea had for all these years, last year it was proven that that gap no longer exists, right? We crowned the Chinese champion, right? All hail our new Chinese overlords, if you want to go with that meme, right? But, I mean, I'm just saying that there is no longer this idea of a gap, right? Maybe between the East and the West, sure, but it's no longer Korea dominates everything, right? If we're looking at the rest of the teams that are going to this tournament, right? Yes, Royal Never Give Up is a strong team, sure. Yes, Invictus Gaming is a strong team, sure, from the LPL. Yes, a bunch of the Korean teams are strong, but Fun Plus Phoenix has shown over the course of their season that they are a very strong team, that they're very organized, they're very good at playing this chaos because that's really what LPL is, like controlled chaos. It's a bunch of kills, it's a bunch of fights, it's a bunch of you have less than a second to make up your mind whether or not you're going in on the play or you're not. Otherwise, the other team's gonna come in and just wreck you.
So here's the important question we need to ask here is, as we are in NA, does Liquid, can they capitalize on that MSI performance? And
Wait. Hold on. First question off. Does Liquid have a chance? Yes, but also, does Professor Layton think that TL has a chance?
Always.
No, yeah. What are you talking about? That dude, they could be dead last, and he'll still be cheering for them.
By the way, for those that don't know who Professor Layton is, great friend of all of us. He is.
Whoa, speak for yourself. I'm just kidding, buddy.
Great friend of ours. He is a color caster and actually a little bit of play-by-play, but I think he's mainly color caster for PC Gamers, League of Legends tournaments. So you can catch him at the conventions. You can always catch him at Landoms here and there. If he's playing in Landoms, he's probably playing against KTAD, so that's one of the things as well. But
you mean getting wrecked? I mean, every Thursday.
Layton, yes. I know you're listening,
yes.
so
but
just
anyway,
let's
bring this back. All right, let's bring this back because is the question: does TL have a chance? Yes. They got lucky. Their group has an LMS team and Invictus Gaming, who arguably is not as strong as they were when they won the World Championship last year.
I think marginally weaker than mid-season invitational.
Yeah, so I mean, does TL have a chance? Maybe. Does Cloud9 have a chance? Probably not. Let's just be honest about this. They've got a very hard group already with Griffin and G2. There's a possibility that they can get maybe an easier 4th seed, but still, it's not looking great for Cloud9.
We have known Cloud9 to surprise us at Worlds, so me personally, Cloud9 as an organization, I would never count them out only because they have shown that they can surprise, and at an organizational level, they've had that success and have shown it at a Worlds level.
I want to ask as well, too, because yes, the group stages are set. You've got the best 12 teams, I guess, for now. But you look at that play-in stage. Is there anybody that you think from that play-in stage that could make a run, or that can make a run for the money? Because we've seen like in sports before where the downside team, has made a comeback before. But does anybody in the play-in stage seem like they could make a run for the table?
Hands down, Detonation Focus Me. LJL's team, the one team that comes out of Japan. Remember now, Japan is a region that didn't even have a server until a few years ago. So we look at their performance last year. Hands down, one of the better wildcard teams we saw last year. So if we're gonna say, is there a dark horse that that any of us are rooting for? Definitely DFM. They're gonna be the team that I think surprises, and they're in a group with only Splice and the Latin American team.
Well, you also have to keep in mind with Damwon Gaming as well. If they make it through, they're in either Group B or Group D, and I think for them it would be very interesting to see them in either group, being who's in that. Both of those groups are relatively easy in comparison to Group A and C, so it would be interesting to see how Damwon goes into both of those groups and how that actually ends up playing out.
I want your guys' prediction on this, just real quick. If you had to pick a team to win it all right now, based on what you've seen so far, based on what we know of these teams, based on how they've played, who would your one pick be to win it all right now? KTAD, you're first.
My one pick to win it all?
Yes.
G2.
All right, Brother Jay?
G2.
Oh, man, he took my pick. I also think G2 has a very good chance of surprising a lot of people and winning Worlds.
Wait, well, because you don't want to be boring. You don't want to say SK Telecom. You don't want to say Fun Plus Phoenix. Don't go with the boring, these teams probably should win. Let's go with the fun. Let's have a Western team win Worlds this year.
And then we can have a one-time for the one-time and maybe Liquid wins.
No. Layton, they're not even getting out of groups.
We're just roasting Professor Layton, man. You guys are roasting him. And he's not even in studio. Come on, guys.
I'm gonna have to agree. I think it's G2. I think their playstyle might just bring it out for them.
So folks, you heard it here, folks. CBS Sports Radio Squad Up is a G2 fan. So, well, except for me, because I don't watch the too much. I'll pick the favorites. I'll take the favorites though, or.
You can have
no. You know what? The one team from Japan did Detonation Focus Me. I'll take them.
Okay, wait, no, let's not get ahead of ourselves. They're not winning the World Championship. They might make it 2 groups, but they are not winning the World Championship.
Hey, you know what? The underdog, the farther they go, the better. That's all I'm saying.
Never forget Kaboom.
Based on their name. All right, we're going to take ourselves a quick break. When we come back, more things to talk about, and how is esports and gaming affecting mainstream popular culture? So mainstream pop culture, how's it being affected by this growth of esports? That's our one big question. You can think about it if you're listening in. You're listening to CBS Sports Radio, and this is Squad Up.
Hawaiian Financial Federal Credit Union is proud to bring you high school football on CBS Sports Radio. Every week, we'll bring you the best teams and matchups from around the state, culminating with the HHSAA State Championships, presented by Shopo, also brought to you by Stroud Medical Center, Hawaii Iron Workers Union, Lean 2 Financial, Castle Resorts and Hotels, Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union, Hawaii Building and Construction Trade Council, PAXA, Hardware Hawaii, and IBEW Local 1186.
Join the ESPN Honolulu gang at Big City Diner Waipio for Countdown to Kickoff, 2:30 p.m. this Saturday, followed by the Rainbow Warriors and Nevada. Enjoy 25-ounce Mega Modelo Especial, only $6. You can win UH football tickets and dinner for 4 at Big City Diner. Also, enter to win a Vacations Hawaii Las Vegas getaway. Mahalo to Modelo Especial and Vacations Hawaii.
There's no diner finer than Big City Diner.
Honey, don't forget to call the electrician for the extra outlet, okay?
Yup, I'm going. I mean, he gonna get them done this week sometime.
Okay, everybody coming over for the game next week, so don't forget.
Yeah. You don't need to remind me with you every 6 months and whatnot, and baby, I like money. Come on. Can't do it PVC circuit breaker, bro. How hard could this be? I watched this on a YouTube video 3 times, 4, 5, 6 times already. I got this.
Honey, why is it dark? What's that burning smell?
Oh, you home early. Baby, I was trying to be romantic like that, eh? Yeah.
Oh, you did not try to do the outlet by yourself.
Be sure to call a licensed electrical contractor to get your electrical work done. Protect your home, business,
and husbands everywhere. Hey, honey.
IBEW Local 1186, lighting your path to the future.
You're listening to Squad Up, presented by PC Gamers on CBS Sports Radio and CBSSportsHawaii.com.
Yes, we have rickrolled the entire stream. We've rickrolled the entire radio audience here. Yes, this is Squad Up on CBS Sports Radio, presented by PC Gamers. We're having a lot of fun here in studio. We're no strangers to love. We're definitely having a lot of fun. And actually, someone on Twitch, if you want to check us out on Twitch, by the way, we are on live at ESPN_HNL. Again, that's ESPN_HNL.
So that's twitch.tv/ESPN_HNL.
And I saw something here too. So I don't know if we want to call ourselves this later, but I know it's the 3 of you. I love you, buddy. But the 3 of you, somebody said in Twitch chat, welcome to Squad Up, the roast of Layton.
Sounds accurate.
I mean, what first show would this be if we don't get to use this opportunity, especially on the radio, to roast one of our good friends?
Yeah, he's a good friend of ours. We love him. We love Professor Layton. Maybe we'll have him come on the show as the 5th man sooner or later as a guest. But anyways, before the break, I said one question that I wanted you guys to think about, and even at home, too, if you want to put it on the Twitch chat of your answer, then you're more than welcome to. And K-Tad's right there to read it out loud as well. So if you got anything on it, just go ahead and put it in the Twitch chat. But we were asking ourselves, how is esports and gaming affecting mainstream pop culture? And it's huge because you just seen how different stories about investments going on. Chris Bosh is involved with esports now. Richard Sherman from the San Francisco 49ers is involved with Luminosity now. And you've got NBA players involved. Like I know Anthony Davis is involved with them. And I know Juju Smith-Schuster is actually playing video games now. He's a local boy. So
Steph Curry.
Steph Curry as well. Everybody, every like sports people are getting involved. And even, Rick Fox is there too, right? Rick Fox is with, or used to be, is or still used to be, is still with Echo Fox, right? So you got to imagine now there's a lot of things going on in pulp culture, but I think now it's getting bigger than ever. So for you guys, what do you guys think that how esports is affecting mainstream popular culture?
I think we see it a lot in places that you don't expect. One of the places that I found that I didn't expect it to be on was just the mainstream late night. I don't know if you guys all saw Ninja and Jimmy Fallon the other night.
Yeah.
That was interesting just to see that guy, because that's the dude that made it, that made streaming and gave an introduction to the world of like Fortnite gaming to everyone. Obviously, just his relationship with Drake, and just how streaming culture has become more of mainstream culture. And I think one interesting story is of a streamer named Trevor Mays. I call him a streamer, but it's funny because he's actually a pitcher for the Minnesota Twins. But more people recognize him as a streamer than as a baseball player, which is like kind of insane when you think
He's a
about,
good
like,
pitcher too, mind
yeah,
you.
He's not a bad pitcher either. He's a starting MLB pitcher, and it's crazy to me that people recognize him on the street as a streamer. I think it shows you how far we've come with video game culture, and I think that we're gonna do far more things in the esports market. That everyone can see with ESPN picking up coverage of things, and I think it's super important that happens and just becomes more mainstream.
Yeah, I mean, well, if we're gonna talk about that, right? Let's talk about the day that Ninja basically broke the internet, right? He, his one day of something like 800,000 people watching just a personality and some other people, like, that doesn't happen normally. That never happened in the past before. Can you ever even think of a time when 1 million people were watching somebody play a video game? You know what I mean? Like, it's never been done before. It might be a record that might not be broken for a very long time, but still, that's the kind of impact that just Ninja alone has had on the scene itself.
Can I also point something out as well? I know I sent this to you guys, but you knew this from way before apparently. But even in Hawaii too, you can see it. Esports being affected in Hawaii too. Remember, HHSAA, for those that don't know, the Hawaii High School Athletic Association has come out with a new esports season. They started it last year with season, quote unquote, season 0. And they started off with Rocket League, Smite, and I believe League of Legends.
Yeah.
So those 3 games were in play. But now you have, I believe they started off with only a few schools, about maybe 20 to 30. But now we're over 50 schools. So any of these schools really, and this is pop culture taking into effect, esports is taking over. And I think that's one of the points we should get at too, because now you have Play Versus being funded a lot more now. I think they have a 96 million investment or something.
Yeah, it's
from
close
what
to
I saw.
100 million. Yeah,
close
it's something
to that.
ridiculous, astronomically ridiculous that Play Versus has this much money invested in them for a platform they're using basically just to organize and help create these tournaments for high schools around the nation. But yeah, if you're gonna talk about that, let's talk about that, because really, it's kind of crazy to see that there's a potential now for esports to become a state-sanctioned sport. Yes, it may not be happening right now, but in the future, I think that's a very real possibility where we might see this on the same tier, or the same capabilities, the same funding levels as something like, some of the smaller sports, like an air riflery team or, a water polo team.
I think also the important key to this happening at a high school level some people are mentioning it in the chat, is that just parents are also becoming more accepting of game culture, just seeing how it's permeating that. And then you see things like college teams. So now if you have a high school team, you have the opportunity to give your child more educational opportunities with things like scholarships. And as the money rolls in to esports and these colleges start offering esports programs, high school esports programs are just going to catch on to that so that they can provide more opportunities. And I'm excited to see the opportunities for local kids to have that.
Well, also when looking at, students in general, now you are not excluding those that aren't athletic, physically at least. You're now including these people that are really good at games, whether or not they can or can't play a sport outside like baseball, like football. Now you include more people that have this skill online that nobody may know about, and these schools bringing it out, it shows that they're kind of expanding to look at a different spectrum of how kids work. Some of them may be really good at games, but they're too afraid to show it, and they don't have any way of actually bringing it out. And now with these schools bringing in esports, it kind of shows that these kids have a talent that maybe we don't even know about.
I also want to point out too that esports is not a thing where it's either boys or girls, right? Yes. University of Hawaii Esports, they have an Overwatch team and a League of Legends team, and if I remember correctly, they have like the girls are better than the boys at the team. I mean, to be fair now, to their credit, they play super well. Even at the conventions when they have the randoms, even if they're separated out, they show their individual skill. But what I love about esports growing is that there's no such thing as separation of, genders. You can be any gender and still play on the same team. And that's the inclusiveness I like about it. Yeah, you don't have to be athletic either, but just the inclusiveness of esports is really good.
Quick shout out to Cosmic Thick. I got to interview her when she was playing at the Landoms at Comic-Con, and it was great. It was fun to see the knowledge that she had. And it's not, people think esports is just about being on a computer and gaming. Well, it's not only that. You have to understand the strategy, and you have to understand everything about the game in order to be successful.
Yeah, and so let's talk about that too, because that was something I saw recently, maybe 2 weekends ago, when we did Moana Lua's tryouts for their League of Legends team, right? We worked with them to help coach their players, to help give them a chance to compete. And that was something where there was girls playing. There was a few girls who wanted to get in there, who made it past the first few rounds, or the first round, I should say. And, it's something that is growing. It is something that's gender equal, right? If you can hack it, you can definitely be on the team. But also, it's just something that's growing in general in that regard, I think.
I want to point out, too, as well, that esports is growing in the fact, too, you look at these professionals and you look at how much they can make off of playing esports. Now, remember that the Fortnite World Cup, I believe, had a $30 million prize pool, and the international was something just over that. But the fact that the prize pools are just this much, I think it's involving a lot more players to get in to esports. Now, credit to them that they got this amount of money from sponsorships and all that. But esports is growing so much that these prize pools are just going to keep getting bigger and bigger, and more people are going to get involved.
Yeah, I think what's important, just to put this into perspective, for the record, I'm a golf guy. That's my sport. If you look at individual prize purses, the actual Fortnite World Cup, the individual that won made more money than Tiger Woods winning the Masters. So that's to put that in perspective of the money you're dealing with when you're looking at esports and how much these esports athletes can make.
Yeah, well, just as a disclaimer though, because although I think there is a big thing going around about that Fortnite prize pool, let's just clear the air about that first though, right? Because yes, that was a huge monumental win, right? One kid winning now in the record books as the single greatest winner of cash prize.
16 years old, by the way, too.
Yeah, 16 years old. He's set for a very long time, maybe even life. But there's very unlikely that we will see prize pools of that scale for that type of individual concept, in the vast umbrella of esports, right? The whole idea is that it's competitive, it's structured, and that there will be chances for people to grow and go into a career, or grow and be consistent, rather than just the craziness that is Fortnite.
If you want to go ahead and make a comment, you can go ahead and make a comment on our Twitch page. That's twitch.tv/ESPN_HNL. Again, that's twitch.tv/ESPN_HNL. And is there anybody saying anything right now on that Twitch chat?
There is. Yeah, we've got some people talking about it. We've definitely got some comments coming in from the chat. I think one of the things we can bring up, it was from P Diddle 36, and if I can re-find that comment, here we go. It said, parents are more accepting of kids gaming now because it's more mainstream. As a parent myself, I see the skill and mental tactics my children are learning with some of their games, and I think that's very true.
Yeah, I think when you watch esports, you can definitely see that it takes a lot. Like, it's not what people think of, just sitting in a dark room playing video games mindlessly. It takes all of your brain power to be engaged and react, both mechanically and also using your mind to strategize and change and adapt within the game itself so that you can be successful.
Yeah, and so to give out one more point too, and just so that for any parents that are listening to this, that are seeing some of these comments, it's not just the competitive field that's part of this, right? It's not just you can be a pro and you can play competitively for these games. There is an industry building around it. This show is an example of that there is things like behind the scenes referees, behind the scenes camera work, streaming, just a bunch of things that go on in the back end that are there for traditional sports. News writers, talk show hosts, obviously things like that are growing. This is becoming a more stable thing, and that's really where the future is headed.
And you can definitely see that it's growing because they let us on the radio, and here we are.
They let us on the radio, and here we go. All right. So far, so good. Here we're 3 segments down, 1 to go. When we come back, our very own Brother Jay, the local boy over here, he's going to be giving us a story as we introduce our first segment, Story Time. No music this time. We'll find it for him when he finds his own music. But we'll come back, and he's got something of a funny esports story to tell us. And guys, good segment so far. But we'll be right back here on Squad Up on CBS Sports Radio.
Hawaiian Financial Federal Credit Union is proud to bring you high school football on CBS Sports Radio. Every week, we'll bring you the best teams and matchups from around the state, culminating with the HHSAA State Championships, presented by Shopo. Also brought to you by Straub Medical Center, Hawaii Iron Workers Union, Lean 2 Financial, Castle Resorts and Hotels, Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union, Hawaii Building and Construction Trade Council, PAXA, Hardware Hawaii, and IBEW Local 1186.
Pili, to join, connect, and hold together. This concept is central to cultures across the Pacific, as it is also for Pili Pacific Clothing. We are Pacific Heritage inspired, artist created, contemporary Pacific design. Own your very own limited edition design by Herman P. Ikea Clark and Sue Pearson. Connect with us online at pilipacific.com. Visit our store at Ward Center or call 593-PILI. Pili Pacific, the finest Aloha Pacific wear you will ever own.
Register today for the 11th Annual Hawaii Fire Chiefs Association National Fallen Firefighters Golf Tournament on Thursday, December 5th at the Ko'olina Golf Club. The event features a two-person scramble format Peoria handicap system. $350 per team, 12 noon shotgun. This tournament benefits the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation. Call Earl Nishikawa at 220-5632 or email at chief@hawaii.rr.com. Mahalo for supporting the Hawaii Fire Chiefs Association National Fallen Firefighters Golf Tournament on December 5th.
This is Squad Up, presented by PC Gamers on CBS Sports Radio.
All right, welcome back. We are in the final segment of Squad Up here, presented by PC Gamers. We're going to be on next week Tuesday as well. We're on every Tuesday from 7 to 8 p.m. Again, you can check us out CBS Sports Radio, as well as CBS Sports Radio every Tuesday, 7 to 8, as well as CBSSportsHawaii.com. And now we're on Twitch, ESPN_HNL. You can check us out there. We peaked at around 20 viewers. Not a bad start for us at all, but we'd like to grow it more, and we'd like your help. Of course, spread the word wherever you can. Social media, we'll have social media up soon as well. So thanks for joining us so far, guys. We've gotten through 3 segments, but the last segment, we saved the best for right now, I guess you could say. So we got our local boy over here, Brother Jay, going to tell us a little bit of a funny story going on in esports.
How's it, everybody? Brother Jay here, bringing you your story of the day in esports. Talking mock just for Leighton out there. So, I get one story for you guys. So, there is this man. His name is Seiko. He is a Hearthstone Grandmaster from Germany. Now, obviously, there are only 48 Grandmasters in the world. Hearthstone has been putting out, this Grandmasters thing and having them play against each other just to show competitively that they are that they're a good esport to be watching. But Brother Man made some mistakes. So let me tell you. So in the middle of a Grandmasters match, right? He's playing for money against the top Hearthstone players in the world. Brother Man threw a game. And nobody knew why. He seemed disinterested, always looking down on his lap, and nobody really understood why, because he's such a good player and he shouldn't be misplaying like this. What is he doing? So, Brother Man was playing Hearthstone Grandmasters and also playing in a qualifier for $1 million auto chess tournament at the same time. Brother Man, you are not Bo Jackson. You cannot play 2 esports at the same time. You are not Deion Sanders and can play in an NFL game and an MLB game in the same day. Brother Man has apologized. He did tell the organizer of the events that he would be doing the qualifier for the auto chess tournament. And it's just such a bad look for Hearthstone. I'm a Hearthstone player myself. I love Hearthstone, but when one of your grandmasters is playing in an auto chess tournament, that just shows you kind of how he feels about Hearthstone. Is maybe not worth his time, but he's since apologized and said that he thought that he could do both at the same time. But Brother Man definitely learned a lesson. I just want to know what you guys think about that, because I think I'm a multitasker, but I'm not that good of a multitasker.
No. So what I want to see is I want this to spawn off a new series of people playing 2 sports at the exact same time. So I'd like to see Tom Brady throw a football in one hand and then throw a basketball in the other to Steph Curry, who is then going to run that and kick a soccer ball at the same time.
I think Steph Curry could actually do that. If you've seen his pregame warm-ups, he has actually kicked soccer balls for goals. He's gone bowling. He's gone golfing pregame. I think Steph Curry is the guy who could actually do that.
I'm pretty sure if you say that, some part of me says Dude Perfect is gonna try it. I feel like you say that. Some part of me says Dude Perfect. I know they're probably not listening, but you figure that you make that sort of challenge online, somebody's gonna do it. Dude Perfect or any of these professional players are gonna do it. What I want to see though is one person playing, and this is at All-Stars too, keep in mind, after the World Championships are over for League. I want to see one person playing League of Legends and TFT at the same time at All-Stars.
I'm actually kind of guilty of this because I simultaneously play Sims, Civ 6, and watch Netflix at the same time. So the only reason I find this funny is just because if it's a reflection of myself. By the way, the only competitive Civ 6 player here is me.
Wait. So Sims, Civ 6, and Netflix?
And Netflix, yeah. You gotta binge watch at the same time. Like, there's not enough time in the day, if we're being honest with ourselves.
By the way, Sid Meier's, if you guys are listening to this, Brother Jay over here is waiting for the day when the competitive Civilization 16 comes out. He will be the first pro to sign under a major organization.
And just so you know, I have to play as Polynesia every single time. No matter what competitive disadvantage that gives me, I am Coupe forever.
Wait, wasn't there Hawaiians in Civ 5?
That was Civ 5, yeah.
Yeah, that was Civ 5, right? There was King Kamehameha. You could have been the true Hawaiian.
I am the true Kanaka, and they should just put me in the game at this point. As Brother J, leader of the Kanakas.
I don't know how many people are going to be supporting you if you go for
I support me. That's all I need.
So story time went from multitasking to how James is going to get into the esports world by playing professional Civ 6.
Hey, look, I've weaseled my way onto sports radio, so I'm pretty sure that jump is not as far as I've come thus far.
Are you willing to sit there for 6 hours for an entire game?
If that means I'm getting paid to play competitively, then yes.
6 hours. This man is ready for 6 weeks.
I hope you know that Civ 6 matches last for years. Like, actual years.
I think I still have Civ 5 matches that haven't ended yet, and we still have it saved from a long time ago.
Oh, you like 1v1 bang after this?
No. No.
You're not ready for catch these warrior units, cause
if you don't get what we're talking about, then go look it up, or have your if your child knows it, look up Civilization 5, Civilization 6 by Sid Meier's. You'll be interested because it's about a game of warfare, the history of warfare, and all that.
It's a very strategic game. It's a very strategic game. Yeah, it's not so much fighting. It's more just strategy.
It's like Risk on steroids. Lots of steroids.
Risk on steroids, really?
Yeah, that's like Risk on steroids. Yeah,
that's fair. That's a very.
I guess because you're not rolling dice all the time. I guess.
That's true.
All right, so I think K-Ted has one more thing for us.
Oh no! So just wanted to say a quick thank you to all of the people who have definitely supported us in getting us to this point. So I wouldn't be doing my job right without saying a personal thank you to some of the guys back at the store and promoting some of the events here. So for those of you who are interested in esports events, Wednesday nights, I believe at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, we have our Super Smash Brothers tournaments. Thursdays at 8 is the signups. The games go up at 9 for League of Legends randoms. If you guys are interested in that, definitely hit those up. But now I will turn it back over to Keegan for the rest of the shout-outs.
So, by the way, if you are looking to participate, I believe you guys have randoms in Teamfight Tactics as well on Fridays, correct? I think you have that.
Yes, when we have enough people for it.
Okay,
yes.
so also, if you plan to go out for League of Legends, on Thursday nights, expect K-Tad to play, and he is apparently a three back-to-back champion, I should say.
I lost the third week.
Let's not talk about it. Let's
just not talk about this.
Back-to-back.
Yeah.
But we need to talk about it more, actually.
No. The show's over, guys. We're running out of time. Let's get this over with.
So convenient.
We still have about 3 more minutes left.
Oh, no. Look at the clock. Yeah, it's time to wrap this up. Let's go. Come on.
No. We still got 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So right now, what we're talking about is K-Tad's gameplay so far. Brother Jay, you've seen it before. What's his gameplay like?
I mean, it's good sometimes, but I don't know. I like you as a friend, but man, it's hard to watch you play sometimes.
You two are roommates too, aren't you?
Unfortunately, yes.
You sleeping on the couch tonight, by the way.
Oh.
Whoa, we own a couch? We've really upgraded, apparently, and I'm not aware of it at all.
The uncle over there never know there was one couch.
Sleeping on the floor, cuz.
You sleeping on the floor or sleeping outside?
I don't know. I'm gonna put him sleep.
The couch is outside, by the way.
Wow. Why would we do that? My goodness.
All I think about when you said that pivot.
Pivot. If she doesn't get it, she's too young for you, bro.
Oh. I see a lot of those memes now on like the different radio stations that come out with it. So also want to. I'm laughing too much. I'm crying.
Well, you should be crying because somebody just mentioned.
Tears coming out.
Yeah, you should be crying because somebody on stream just mentioned that we should bring up Keegan's Rainbow Six Siege gameplay.
Oh, I know who that is. David, I'm not going to mention his last name, but that's Dem Apples 101. I know what's laughable about. You know what? I'm better at talking than I am. I'm better at talking than I am playing at games anyway, so it's fine enough. I want to give out some special thank yous out to a lot of people, actually. You have the ESPN Honolulu and CBS Sports Radio people, Matt Apana, the big boss of them all, Chris Hart, Josh Pacheco, AC, Aaron Custodio. I mean, you got plenty of people to thank here as well for allowing us to be here. Kule Agbayani with all the digital stuff, and Chanel Tsutui as well. Lance Tominaga posting our stuff on the ESPN Honolulu web or on social media for us as well.
And also mahalos to all the people of Hawaii for tuning in with us this night.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, guys. How do you follow that up? Definitely. Thanks, guys, for watching. We hope to see you all back here next week. We promise we'll have it down a little bit better.
We'll have ourselves a little more composed. But again, we want to thank all the people from PC Gamers, the store, Devin there, UK Tad, the head of the media, who's done a wonderful job on stream. And we got something going here, so we hope to see you folks in the coming future. And maybe next week we're gonna see the Shock win it all. The Overwatch League, so we'll have that to talk about. No, I'm just making a prediction right now, but I've got the bias towards my orange team of San Francisco.
You're gonna jinx yourself, man. You gotta watch out.
I already knocked on wood. The board right here is on wood, so I'm good for now. But yeah, so again, thanks to everybody watching. And here's our outro music. So it's kind of pretty, isn't it? It has that little piano going out, and we're gonna have ourselves a little bit of a goodbye now. So, K-Tad, any final words?
Pronounce Vanguard. I'm sorry, Vancouver. The winners of the Overwatch.
Yeah, that's what's funny.
Reaching out. Any final words from you guys before we head out?
Doesn't matter, they're already up.
Your radio home for high school sports. CBS Sports Radio. KHKA Honolulu.